a lot of times when you're wholesaling and you want to wholesale or you want to offload a property, sometimes you get stuck. And when I say stuck, I mean you can't sell it. And in this video, what I'm going to show you is one of the things that you have to realize and determine and know in order for you to offload that property. So at the end of the day, you can get paid. Because babysitting a property is not something that you want to do. So you might get the deal and then you're sitting with it for months and you can't offload it. And then you don't know why. Sometimes the price might be too high or nobody wants to buy it off of you. So if you're wholesaling a property, nobody wants to purchase it. So this is a training that I did with my team in our private community, right? So I did that with the team and I go over in detail um, what you have to know in order to offload your wholesale property so you're not stuck with it. You don't want to get stuck with your property. All right, so let's get into it. One of the reasons, it could be a couple reasons. So one of them could be the way you found the property. The way you found the property, their motivation is wrong. So the motivation could be money, and it could be too much money, where there's no room in the property for anyone else to make a deal except the person that's selling it. So if that's the case, then that's another reason probably why you can't wholesale. So if somebody might say, you might see, look, the property is worth, and I'll do numbers here, the property is worth 150K, right? But the person wants 100,000. And they think, hey, you can sell this for 150, and I only want 100. Problem is, the repairs are 40, even 40K to fix it up. So now you got to give them 100 plus the repairs, right? You're at what? At that point, you're at 150, 140. You only got 10 grand for the rest of the deal to sell it at 150K. And this is where you run into a problem because the 10K is not enough. Not enough. Not enough room to make a deal. You can't flip it. You're barely going to have closing costs at that point. This is what I mean. So most people, when they're brand new or they see this number, hey, I did my due diligence. The houses are selling for 150,000. Houses selling for 150, but the person wants 100K. You would think that this is enough room to make money. I've seen a lot of simple math like this. Real estate is mathematics. It's just that it's not the simple math that most people would think because you don't know what's missing in your line items. You don't know what charges are coming up, right? A quick way to do it when you're doing it is this. Let's say you're a fix and flipper, somebody's wholesaling you a property, and they're like, hey, they give you a price, arbitrary number, and let's go 200,000, right? 200 grand is the value or ARV. So multiply that by 95% because you automatically will take off. Let's say you know you can sell it for 200 grand. You're going to take off 5% to your realtor for selling it on the flip side. You see what I'm saying? So at 200 grand, you multiply it by 95%. There you go. Now you already know you're at 190K left for the deal. So if somebody was to approach you and you're the investor, you're buying, and they say, hey, you could sell it for 200,000. But hey, I got to give 5% to my realtor when they put it on the market. So now let's go back to our original example, which was 150,000. They want 100,000. You got 5% to your realtor. So 150, right? 95%. See what the number is right then and there. 150 that automatically gives you 142.5. So I can't sell it. I can't sell it for 150. 142.5 because I got to give my realtor. And remember also, if the repairs is 40 grand, so if I give you, let's do the numbers right here. I give you 100K, right? That's the seller, right? Now you're left with 42. This is quick math while you're doing your thing. You're left with 42.5, and then you're like, damn, repairs is 40 grand. So now all you got left is 25 $2,500 for the rest of the deal. This is a good way for you to look and say, damn, there's no room. And you can quickly move off the property. And if you do this enough, you can either move off the property or you know for a fact that those numbers won't work because this person wants too much. That 100K won't work. All right. Another reason, another reason why you can't wholesale your property is because the numbers, right? You don't know how to analyze. So you take on a wholesale and you have problems analyzing, meaning you don't understand how to get the value of the property after repair value. Who on here still has after repair value challenges? Put an ARV in the chat if you do sometimes. Like, I'm not sure. Put it in the chat. Let me see. So assessing the proper amount of repair, that's a tricky one, but not too tricky. Not too tricky. What we do for repairs, I'm going to show you the trick that we do to do repairs really quick. So I just showed you what we do for like the quick numbers when on what you can sell it for, right? So ARV, once you understand a market, so it's like have a market, know what prices are selling for, and then from there you can figure it out. You can figure out what are houses selling for. Just the one thing you just have to do, get the specs of your property. All right. So get the square footage, number one, square footage of your house. Number two, get the beds and baths. Gotta get that. How many beds and bath and the square footage of the house? Those two things, it seems it's those main things because the size of the property, right? So 1,500 square feet, 3 beds, 2 bath. When you see that, anything that's 1,500 square feet, 3 beds, 2 bath, now you can get your comps. Now you probably won't get stuck. Not the address. You don't need the address. You need your square footage and your beds and bath. Those are the main things. Yeah, so listen, I just wanted to hop in here really quick and say if you're really serious about becoming the real estate investor you want to be, you're just looking for some guidance, somebody to just help you to get in the right direction. I got a special community for you. We go way beyond surface level advice, things that you can get from anywhere, right? On a daily basis, we dive deep into topics that get results, that help you get results. Now, let me tell you something. If you're just an info junkie, I got bad news for you. This isn't for an info junkie. If you just like to get information and get more information and get more information, this community isn't for you. What this is for people that want to take action right now and build towards their goals. I'll leave the link to check out the community where you can be part of trainings like this live. I'll leave the link in the description. Also, the rest of this training is you'll hear how we interact inside our community, how we deal with properties and scenarios and situations like this, and you'll see for yourself what it looks like and what it feels like. All right, so I'll leave the link in the description, and let's get back into the training. anything else you'd like to get, like that specific. I say once you got your square feet, your bed and bath, you golden. Is there something I'm missing? Or something you add?
I
This
do
Go ahead, go ahead.
I do style of home.
so the only reason why I was reluctant to add anything to your square foot and your bed and bath is because everything else will become niche to the market.
Yes. Thank
That's
you for
right.
saying that. You see what I'm saying? Everything is niche to the market itself, meaning how does it sell on the block in Philly? So a lot of times I'm using one of the Philly blocks or the Philly things as an example where certain things are specific to that neighborhood. So like Ron, what that means is niche to the market. And give me an example of niche to the market thing, um, James
Well,
or Ryan.
oh,
Go ahead.
well, in Louisville, right, in where I buy my rentals, there's a stark difference between houses that are rentals and houses that people buy in for residential. When you see, like, you could look on the map and you see houses that sold at, 1,300 square foot houses that are 3.2s that sold for 200,000, and they could be a block away from a 3.2 that's the same square feet that's selling for 150, right? But there's a very big difference between the two. So, when I look, I have to just know, like, oh, that house is for residential. This house is sold for the purpose of being a rental or something like that, right? So there's just stark differences in this market.
All right, good.
Or in Jay's market in Philly, you might see that people in one specific neighborhood are renovating properties and they're doing the basement, right? And then in another part of Philly, and Philly's so niche, right? A 2 block radius is a different market. In that other part of Philly, they're not doing basements. So things like that.
All right, good. So let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. So niche to the market is what changes after square footage and beds and bath. Everything else is niche to the market. Now, niche to the market, like Ryan said, rental property versus someone who's living in there. We'll say residential, or like he said in Philly, redo the basement or no, big difference. Some people that do the basements or don't do basements is niche to the market. Now, so when James was like, yo, I do style of house, and the reason why I went like, now you're going specific to a particular niche. So we could do style of house, A-frame, ranch style. Sometimes that happens in my market in New York. So an A-frame property or a ranch or a high ranch, they have that. But now you're going niche in the market. It can definitely affect your ARV. The thing is, you can't get to niche unless you understand that square footage, beds and bath. Square footage, beds and bath. Go ahead, Jay.
So I don't know if y'all would consider niche, but I know two other factors I definitely would take into consideration would be, I guess that does what you guys are saying, niche, but it's the radius, like the distance from the subject property, because that is true. Like it depends on where you are. Definitely in Philly, if you're talking about a half-mile radius, that could definitely, or even a mile radius, that could throw you into a totally different area.
Uh,
Sometimes that happens here in New York. And then also, um, the length of time, basically where you're going back for property sold. So typically I'll do like 3 months if I can, hopefully less, right? But then some markets where properties aren't really selling that offer, so you might have to go out back to a year or something like that, right? But really, you do want to start with as little months when a house sold as possible. So those are two other things that I definitely take into consideration.
Well, you know what? I'm feeling, and I'm gonna ask Ryan also and James. I'm feeling like length of time would go under that would be a third thing. That would be time is definitely not niche. I think
No, I think time is niche. Time is
you
absolutely
think
niche.
time of soul is
Ab-
niche? You think it's on this?
Absolutely. Check this out. Check
Okay,
this out.
go.
If
Go,
you
go
go
ahead.
to the Philly, if you go to the Philly map on Zillow right now, you don't have to do it. But if
Okay.
you went there right now and you did your Zillow filters to a day, right? To one day,
Uh-huh.
you'd see a million properties. What I'm saying is one day ago, how you see the map flooded yellow, right? Depicting that many properties sold yesterday,
Mm.
right? But that doesn't happen in other markets, right? Even New York, you won't see as many as Philly, right? Or Queens,
Mm.
right? You won't see as many as Philly. That's so what happened in Philly is niche to the market. Properties are just being sold left and right. That same thing doesn't happen in my market, right? When my appraisers are doing appraisals, they're going back a year. In Jason's, the two that I've seen, the two appraisals that I've seen, if I remember correctly, they're going back 6 months max, right? So Jason's trying to do 3 months. He's running ARV for 3 months because he knows that by the time he buys, it might be 3 months later, but he's doing 3 months because in that market, the value could have changed within 3 months or less.
Okay, so time is leaning to based on what Ryan said. I don't disagree. I kind of agree with him. Time might be a little niche to market because it's different things that happen per market. So time is niche to market. I would say that. All right. So let's go back. So the other one he said, all right, that's one, was distance. Is distance general, like once you get your square foot bed and bath, now we talking about distance. Is distance niche to market? Or we like, look, usually you gotta know half a mile radius or wherever the nearest one is, which I think.
I think distance is niche as well.
Ooh,
And I'm gonna use Jason's market again, right? His most recent market again in
okay.
Philly, right? You go if you go 4 blocks that way, you're in a different market. You're in a different area. If you go 4 blocks that way, you might need to be in 2 blocks in a 2 block radius, right? Philly's like that, which is why I stay out of Philly, right? Because
Okay.
I can't. I'm not gonna go ahead and learn all of Philly just so that nah.
Yeah.
That's why I stay out of Philly because Philly's like that. I could turn around. Listen, we know the story of a guy who the realtor told uh you know uh, the ARV was this and then they did the flip and the ARV wasn't what the realtor said it was, right? But that happens because I mean not only do realtors have their own motivation, but because if you can make an argument to an outsider, right? You can make an argument to the outsider that the ARV is higher than it is if you go, a block or two out of the radius that you should be in, right? So yeah, in New York you want to stay in St. Albans. You're in St. Albans, you want to stay in St. Albans, but a half a mile might get you to Cambria Heights, right? Or Queens Village. It happens everywhere.
So, James,
Addition,
uh,
One more thing.
go
One more
ahead.
thing.
Go ahead.
Additionally, you might be in the middle of four big roads. I got Francis Lewis, I got Hollis, I got Hillside, or I got Francis Lewis, Hollis, Jamaica, and whatever else is the fourth one. Those are four big roads. But that might be That's a half a mile any direction. If I go a half a mile in any direction, I'm passing those blocks.
Okay. All right.
So I guess what I'm saying is, right, you don't want to start out, you know, you know, 3 miles out. You understand what I'm saying? You want to start as close to the subject property as possible. And then if there's nothing available, then you scale out. So for me, that's what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't really I guess yes, what data will pop up is niche, but just as for starters, when you're starting out doing the analysis, you don't want to just automatically go out, okay, I'm going out, a year of what's sold. You want to try to start as, 30 days or less. Then you start pushing out to see, okay, what else pops up as I expand my time of property sold, or same thing as I expand my radius of where the subject property is located. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. So I guess it depends on how you're looking at it. I feel that's why I said I'm not sure if you would consider this niche, depending on how you're thinking about it, but those are just other things I would take into consideration.
All right.
I agree with Jason.
All right. When you're starting out, number two, analyzing. When you're starting out, square foot, bed and bath, you got to get that. Then the next thing is what might be niche to market. But what we're saying here, and what I would agree with my team members, is that the next part, you have to check to see what the market looks like for these things. And you got to check to see what the market is giving you for time. I'm going to put it here. You got to check that. Time and number 4, distance from subject property. Now, if it happens to be that it's 4 block, 2 block radiuses and things just changes, you have to know this. You got to know it. Now, this is where you start awareness. And you know that the numbers are going to be different. Now, if you're not at that level and damn, I don't know this, or I may need help, but at least you know that this is what it looks like in Philly. It's 4 block, 2 blocks. And that's under me knowing that distance from subject property is something that I have to look at. The next one is time, like the difference in days sold. Yes. If you put in the time and you see that stuff sold yesterday, so now you know it's hot yesterday, or a year, 1 year, right? But if properties sold yesterday, so now you're now aware that this market is hot. Again, another thing about awareness. And if you're not there, if you're not knowledgeable or capable, or you need some help in determining the ARV because of these two things, time and distance, because it gets a little crazy for you, now you're aware. And this is where you start to educate yourself, because now you got to make some adjustments. You might need the help. This is where you need the help now. Damn, I got to do this ARV because nothing sold in a year. Or I got to do this ARV because there was 1,000 properties that just sold yesterday. So I may need some help. Or the distance, the nearest thing is more than a mile away. What does that say about the market when I'm doing ARV? Right? So in conclusion, for this, square foot bed and bath, you gotta get that. Right? Size to size comparable, bed and bath comparable. When you start talking about style of house, distance, time, when you start talking about style of house, I'm sorry, now you talk about niche to market, right? Basement, no basement. But the other part, time and distance, you should be aware of the time property is being sold in the market and the distance.
Let me throw something at you real quick.
Go ahead, big dog.
So even talking the first two, 1 and 2, right?
Right. Then two.
Beds and bath, square
Oh,
footage.
we gonna make it complicated. Let's go.
Yeah, let's get a little complicated
It's
with
gonna
it,
get
right?
complicated.
And this is good because my boy James is on the line right now. He just sent me something yesterday.
Mhm.
So here it is. Let's get real life.
I'm gonna leave it right here.
Let's say you got a property that's uh, the square footage is let's do real, right? The property is 2,000 square feet.
Wait, hold on. If it's real, let me just go to another section. Let me write it.
Yeah, this is a real example.
Let's go. So
Property is
square feet,
It's definitely real.
definitely real. 2,000 square feet,
right?
right?
2,000 square feet. Okay.
Beds, bath, one bed, 2 baths.
1 bed, 2 bath. Okay.
Yes. Now, all the properties in the area are, let's say, about 2,000, just to kind of, keep it aligned, about 2,000 square feet, but the beds and bath is 3 beds, 2 baths.
Oh, so hold on. So the area, everything is, say it again.
3 beds, 2 baths.
Everything that you see is 3 beds.
2 baths with about the same square footage, like 2,000, maybe a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. What would y'all say about
So
that?
now, so damn, you see, then it gets even, but then that gets niche because
Nah, see, for me
Here we
this
go.
is
Yes, this is why I want to talk about this.
for me this is easy, right? You didn't make me trip. But Joe, you know what, Joe? Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, bro.
Joe, go ahead.
I want to get different perspectives.
To hear what you were saying, because you were saying,
You go first.
Let's
You go first.
let's hear the different perspectives. Let's go.
Hey, all right. Y'all put me on the block, no problem. So
This did
when I
not trip
see
me
this,
up.
let me just tell, all right, so I'm just gonna say what my thought process when I see this
Yes.
is, then I'm just thinking of I think the baths are cool. So I don't look, the baths are cool. I'm gonna highlight this. So the 2 baths is good. I'm still good. I'm still thinking it's comparable. It's this part, the 3 beds and the 1 bed. Now I just gotta see because I'm always thinking that beds are just partition. I can take a big room and split it into 3. That's just partitions. Now, do I need 3 beds because that's what the market is hitting for? Meaning the people are only buying 3 beds and 2 baths to get that price. So to get the price that I'm looking for, it has to be 3.2, and I got a 1.2. Then that's where I just start to account for it. So I'm still a little nichey, but I'm just checking the market because I know if I got a space, let's say this is the square footage, right? And this is 1 bed. If it's the same space, right? I can make it right into, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, same space. If I just put a
your
wall
drugs
up.
are like a
So that's my thought process. And so that pulls it to this scenario right here, means that if you're not equipped to know this, this is where it gets nichey, where this is where you just need more knowledge and you need more help in learning about the ARV. It's where it gets tricky, but that's where it is. Go ahead.
Yes, on the beds, it's a daycare. It was a home that was converted into a daycare, so it has 3 bedrooms, but they took the closets out. So in order to be a legal 3 bedrooms, you have to put the closets back in. It has 3 rooms, 3 bedrooms, but they took the closets out to make it a daycare. So it's being used as a
Nah.
daycare.
All right, so then that's a reason why the 3 beds is not. It's just missing a closet. So that, but you have to know that in order to do your analysis. Because now you'd be like, well, what's the reason that this one is a 1 bed? And then you found the reason, and there's your answer. So all I need is closets to make this a 3.2.
right. But
Go ahead, Ryan.
so we wasn't tripped about the ARV part. right? But this would have got us like just upon, depending on how deep our analyzation is, this would have tripped us up only in the renovation part.
Yes. But once you know, okay, what's it gonna take? What's the reason that this one bed, two bath thing is happening? Once you know why
Right.
it's happening, then you'd be like, okay, that's an easy fix.
Yeah, yeah. Restoring the closet is simple, right? But if I gotta sometimes if I gotta put up a new wall, I gotta put up a new wall or knock down some walls and change the layout of the house, that could make things a little bit more difficult. Like, the thing about what Jason said that made time and distance not niche is that we always want to start from as close to the property as possible.
Correct. So this part here on the square footage puts you into, right? You got number one, how you found the property and all that. Number two is the analyze. So inside of the analyzing, the next thing, which is what the part that somebody said there's a problem, is determining based on your strategy, right? What the repairs are gonna be. This is another where that's the other part of getting your ARV right. Determining repairs. Because this is gonna affect you if you're wholesaling, right, to where the strategy is fix and flip, even if it's a rental, because what's it gonna take to get the profit? What's it gonna take to get the rental ready? And what's it gonna take to flip it on the market for that ARV price? So repairs is definitely a lesson in itself. And even in our classes, we have repairs by itself. How to determine repairs, get estimate on repairs. So after you know how you found the property and setting up that part, and then after you know the square footage to get your ARV, the square footage, bed and bath, time and distance in the market that you're looking at the property, that's when we start going a little deeper. You got to get the repairs. Go ahead, James.
I was gonna say, based off this scenario, you gotta throw in that property type because you can't compare a single family home with a multi-family complex or a nursing home or whatever else, daycare. So you gotta put that in there as well.
Well, if it was known as
But
a
doesn't that go
daycare,
into
if it was known as,
but
if it
doesn't
was
that
used as a daycare, but it's still technically a one family or whatever, then you're still we're still getting into, I would say, more knowledge, right? Niche to the certain market. So now you're talking about how the property was used. That would fall into your repair section. But here's the thing. My question to you is, a one family to a two unit, even if it's the same size, you wouldn't put that as a comp, would you?
No, and it really depends. If it's nothing out there to compare it to, like to a single family, and it's only like a multi-family 2 unit next to it, appraiser probably would use it then. But initially, you starting out, you just want to compare it to another single family home.
Correct. So initially, yes, and then
Yeah,
things can happen along the way, which is where now you're aware that you probably need to learn more about, okay, two units compared to one unit. Do you do that? That's the next, that's just getting more advanced.
yeah, but
You
also
get
too,
more advanced unless you deal with the basics anyway. Is what the point of this little training is. You got to know these basic things before you even move on.
yeah, I
Okay,
believe property type is basic because you got to compare it to the similar property that you're looking up to find the comps.
all right, James,
So
you win,
property
man.
type,
You
it
win.
got to be in.
I'm gonna put property type in there because you're fighting for it, and I don't want to
I'm
fight.
fighting for everybody that's on the call, so they do it the right way too.
I don't
not
disagree. So look, property
yeah.
type, but then that falls into your bed and bath one family. So property type. So bed and bath one how many units, right? Square footage bed and bath, how many units. That would come into play. So he's right. I'm not disagreeing with him. So bed and bath, is it 1 unit? Is it 2 units? So I think basically a person would know. You have to know as an investor, you're going to do 1 family to 1 family for comps. Everybody understands that part? Put a Y in the chat. If it's a 1 family, you're going to compare it to other 1 families. Okay? So if you got a commercial property to a commercial property, everybody understands that part. So even if we're basic, that's still level 1 to understand. You're not going to compare a 20-unit building to a 1 family. You're not going to do that. Okay, so everybody understands that part. Is it a 1 family? Is it a 2 family? And when you're doing your comps, you would do the same comparable. All right? So look, y'all, this is why when you run into these things, this is where the problems come in as to why you probably could not or not being able to understand how to wholesale your property, because this information right here, the square footage. So make sure you got that. The square footage, the bed and bath, right? The property type, meaning how many units, 1 family to 1 family, right? We definitely understand that part. The next thing is the motivation. That's one of the first things. The motivation, I'm just recapping, right? The motivation of the buyer, depending on why would they sell the property. Can you get it at a discount? Discount meaning if they want too much money, right there, you can't go any further. Because if they want 100 grand and the ARV is only worth 150, there may not be enough room to do the deal. So the only way to get it at a lower price, one of the main ways to get it at a good price, is to understand the reason why they would want to sell. Hopefully they just want to get rid of it. Hopefully they just want to get rid of it. And if you know the market, let's say you do know that houses are selling for a certain price, then you know how far under that price you got to come in. All right. That's number 1. And the best way to do that is to find the person that's in distress. Not the distressed property. All right. Now, let's be clear. You have a better chance if you find the distressed property owner, not just the property that's distressed. Some people look at an abandoned house and they're like, oh, it's perfect. The house is abandoned. This is perfect. Let's look into that. I want to say that is fool's gold, because a distressed property doesn't mean the owner's distressed. It may not be on their minds right now. They don't really care about it. You're looking for the distressed person, property owner. Always look for the distressed person. If you find the distressed person, then they have a reason to just get rid of the property, right? And then after that, when you come into analyzing and doing the numbers, doing the ARV, get your square footage, get your bed and bath, get your property type, right? 1 family to 1 family. Then we understand the time, the distance, how fast properties are selling. Is it 6 months, a year, 3 months, and your distance. Then the third part would be understanding repair. We'll go over estimating repairs. We'll do worst case scenario, looking at a property, what it is, kitchens, baths, and like the help of softwares and stuff like that. We'll do that on the next training. But once you got these 2 covered, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Most of the time, what people go through is they don't understand why they can't wholesale. Why can't I wholesale my property? Either why they can't find a good deal, or why when they get the deal, nobody wants to buy. And you're having a hard time because you don't know how to do the ARV. You're having a hard time because you already got the wrong property with the person with the wrong motivation. The wrong motivation is going to stop you. You won't be able to get it off because they want too much for the property. So no investors coming in to buy. Or the other part is you underestimated or you wrongly estimated your ARV, your value on the market compared to the condition of property. Meaning, like, what's it going to take to repair? How much is it worth? The bed and bath. So those are the reasons. Those are the two main reasons where if somebody wants to wholesale, the two things you got to get proficient at is how to find it, right? Discount property, and definitely how to do your analysis with the ARV. So this is where it. You know what it feels like, Jerry? And I'm sitting here, I'm like, damn, we really just scratched the surface. And that is because we got experienced investors knowing that after this, you go here. And after this part, you go to the next level. You go to the next part. You go to the next part. So ARV can have like 10 different parts. It's crazy. So the question would be, then how is it that you have investors like our guy Jay or Ryan? Hey, I look at a property, I could do ARV in 5 minutes. I can do it in 5 minutes. It take me a few minutes to understand what I'm looking at. And the reason that that happens is because once you know all the steps to anything, it takes you 5 minutes. Once you know all the steps to anything, once you know all the ways to solve a problem, once you know all of it, now, and you do it enough times, now the problem solving it's faster in your brain. Our brains adjust quickly. Once we know all the steps, then we can do it like that. That's how we're able to adjust. The thing that you have to be aware of is knowing all the steps and what happens in all the steps. So once you know enough scenarios, you'd be like, oh, I could do this in 2 minutes. I could do this in 5 minutes.
Speed is something that we can all use. All right. And don't forget, you want some guidance that's geared towards your results. Check out the link in the description for the community. Tap in. Our next coaching call is this Wednesday. All right. And also check out this video right here for repairs and how to get to the repairs in like a few steps. Quickly estimate repairs so you don't lose a lot of time trying to figure out if this property is good for you or not. All right. I'll see you in the next training.